Welcome to Reddit Confessions.
I thought the baby was our miracle, until the DNA test proved it wasn't even mine. And the first crack? A bouquet of roses that didn't belong in our home. I'm Mark Dalton, 36, software developer. I build things for a living. Apps, systems, automation. Clean code, logical rules, zero surprises. I married the opposite of that. Julia's 34, nonprofit manager. She walks into a room and people sit up straighter. She keeps everything polished, her career, her image, our marriage. To the outside world, she's a vision. So inspiring, they say. At home, she was a checklist queen. Organized, gracious, always in control. We've been trying for a baby for 4 years. Miscarriages, hormones, failed IVF cycles. Each one chipped away at us, but never broke us. Or so I thought. Then, that day, I was folding laundry in the kitchen, lemon yellow baby onesie in hand, when her phone buzzed. It was just sitting there on the counter. I wasn't snooping. The preview said, "Order delivered to Julia Dalton." Note, "Couldn't be happier for you, L." My stomach dropped. I picked it up. Didn't unlock it. Just read what was already there. L. There was only one person who signed things that way. Dr. Lucas Hale, our fertility specialist. Charismatic. Reassuring. Too charming, if I'm being honest. Why the hell would he send her flowers? And why only to her? I stood there for a full minute, just holding her phone. The onesie slipped from my hand and landed on the floor. 2 hours later, the delivery arrived. A dozen white roses. Elegant. Tasteful. Expensive. The kind of flowers you don't send lightly. No note this time. Just the embossed card that said the Bloom Room, Washington, D.C. I checked the label. Delivered to Julia Dalton address. Julia's office. Not our house. Her office. She'd brought them home herself. But not proudly. Quietly. No display. No mention. I placed the roses in the garage, right next to my toolbox and the half-assembled crib. When Julia got home that evening, she kissed my cheek like nothing happened. Talked about work, complained about traffic, said she was craving Thai food. She didn't mention the flowers. Not once. So I asked, "You get anything interesting at work today?" She blinked. Just boring reports and a lot of emails. Why? I smiled. Shrugged. Just curious. Nothing. No flicker. No confession. Later, while she showered, I stood in the garage, staring at the flowers again. I pulled the card from the trash where I'd tossed it earlier. "Couldn't be happier for you, Julia. You deserve this. L. Not us. You." That night, she curled up next to me, wrapped my hand around her belly. "Our miracle," she whispered. I stared at the ceiling, and something inside me began to crack. The next morning, I made her tea like always. Chamomile with lemon. 1 sugar. Ritual. "You've been quiet lately," I said carefully. "Work's been nuts," she said. "We've got 2 grants up for renewal. Just trying to keep everything together." I nodded. "Dr. Hale still checking in with you?" Her eyes flickered. "Just a second." But I caught it. "Sometimes," she said. "He emailed. Sent a card. Sweet, right?" "Very thoughtful," I said. "Just a card." She hesitated. "Yeah, just a card." Liar. I waited for her to bring up the flowers. She never did. That was the moment I decided I couldn't just watch this happen. Couldn't keep pretending we were still on solid ground. She'd started going to appointments alone, said it was easier with our schedules, said she needed the independence, said she wanted me to relax. But I wasn't relaxed. I was drowning in 100 small doubts. So I ordered a tiny voice recorder, one that could slip into her car door unnoticed. And 2 nights later, while she brushed her teeth and sang along to the same Lumineers song she played every night, I installed it. Slid the recorder behind the panel in the driver's side door. Set it to voice-activated mode. Then I went back inside, kissed her belly, told her I loved her. She smiled, said she loved me too. But her eyes didn't. They looked distant, like she was already somewhere else, with someone else. I hit play, expecting silence, and heard, "No one will ever know." That single sentence looped in my head all night. No one will ever know. Her voice. Soft. Nervous. But there was a smile in it, too. I could hear it. The next line, lower and slower, was unmistakably his. "You worry too much. Everything's taken care of." I sat in the dark, my laptop open, earbuds in, scrubbing through the audio file over and over. At 23 hours, 17 minutes, and 3 seconds, a car door closes. Julia sighs. At 23 hours, 17 minutes, and 42 seconds, the ringtone. Not mine. Someone else's. Then her voice. Hey, I just left the appointment. Then silence. Then a whisper. I miss you. Click. I closed the laptop and sat there, staring at the black screen until the sun started to rise. Julia always insisted on going to the clinic alone. Said the waiting rooms made her anxious. Said the appointments were just checkups, nothing I needed to worry about. I trusted her. Now I was wondering what kind of checkups involved whispering I miss you to someone who wasn't your husband. That morning, I drove her to work. I insisted, made up some excuse about needing the car serviced. She didn't argue, just tossed me her keys and kissed my cheek. Her perfume lingered on my collar. After I dropped her off, I pulled into a parking garage, grabbed a coffee, and listened to the rest of the recording. Some of it was normal, mundane. Julia humming along to the radio, talking to herself, calling her mom, scheduling prenatal yoga. Then, halfway through the week's files, something new. A name. Lucas, stop, she laughed. We said we wouldn't do this in the car again. Lucas. Not Dr. Hale. Just Lucas. There was shuffling, movement, a door opening. Her laugh again. Soft, intimate, familiar. I didn't hear the kiss, but I felt it. He said something I couldn't quite catch, just the tail end. Made for this. You and me. I sat there gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Took every ounce of control I had not to drive to that clinic and put my fist through his perfect smile. Instead, I opened the encrypted notes app on Julia's phone, the one she'd set up to organize her thoughts. She'd left her phone charging overnight. The screen was locked, but I'd watched her type the passcode 100 times. She used her dad's birthday. I tapped it in. The app opened. First entry. Dinner with L. Syringe Redheart. Date. 3 weeks ago. Same day she told me she had a minor procedure. Second entry. Private room reserved. 3 p.m. Tuesday. Third. Keep story straight. Mark thinks procedure was Wednesday. There it was. In her own handwriting. The lie. The coordination. The timeline that never made sense. Now perfectly clear. They weren't just messing around. They were plotting. I scrolled further. There were fragments of conversations. Half-typed thoughts. Things like, he says this is our chance. What if someone finds out? This will ruin him if it gets out. And then, buried at the bottom. DNA. Too risky. Need control. I stopped breathing. That word, DNA, it cut through me like a knife. Because now the question wasn't are they having an affair. The question was is this baby even mine? That night, I made her favorite dinner. Salmon, wild rice, asparagus. She smiled when she walked in. What's the occasion? Just wanted to spoil you, I said. She laughed, set down her bag, and slipped into the kitchen. Kissed my neck. Hugged me from behind. You're being sweet, she said. I nodded, plating the food. Just excited. About everything. She smiled. Sat down. We ate. We talked. She told me about a fundraiser at work. I nodded and asked questions. Played the part. The whole time, I kept glancing at her stomach. At the little swell beneath her blouse. The one I thought was a miracle. After dinner, I poured her sparkling water and walked into my office. Closed the door. And ordered a DNA test kit. They'd send instructions. Discreet. All I needed was something small. Hair. A tissue. A sample from me. That part would be easy. The hard part would be pretending. The next few days were hell. I watched her like a stranger in my own house. The way she touched her phone. The way she smiled at messages and typed with her body angled away from me. She made tea every morning. Laughed when I kissed her belly. She even booked a maternity photo shoot. She was building a fantasy, while I built a case. I gathered everything. The recordings. The notes. Photos of the flowers. Screenshots from her app. Everything labeled, dated, backed up twice. I dropped the DNA kit in the mailbox at 10:47 a.m. on a Thursday. Didn't tell a soul. That night, we lay in bed, the lamp casting soft light across her face. I can't wait to meet him, she whispered, resting her hand on her belly. He's going to have your eyes. I kissed her forehead, but all I could hear was, no one will ever know. She cried when she said, we did it. Now I know she meant him. We were at the ultrasound appointment when she cried. Julia had gripped my hand so tight my fingers went numb. Her eyes welled up as the grainy black and white screen flickered to life. The technician said, there's the heartbeat. And Julia whispered, we did it. At the time, I thought she meant us. Me and her. husband and wife. For years of failed attempts, crushed hopes, and late-night crying. But now I replay that moment in my head and hear it differently. I see the way her eyes never really met mine. The way she wiped her tears before she looked at me. We didn't do this. They did. The DNA test was in the lab. All I could do was wait. A week, maybe 2. I kept pretending everything was fine. Morning kisses. Baby name debates. Texting her nursery ideas I didn't care about. But under the surface, I was digging. Relentlessly. Julia's phone was always locked. But her iPad? She sometimes forgot to log out. And the Notes app, her so-called mental journal, synced automatically through iCloud. That's where I found the password-protected folder. Buried under a shopping list and some baby shower planning notes was a locked section called Crescent Moon. That little moon emoji. Private. Whispery. Romantic. Not how you label budget spreadsheets. I stared at it for hours. Tried every password I could think of. Her birthday, our wedding date, her mom's maiden name. Nothing worked. Until I remembered the name she'd once used for her high school poetry blog. Solstice. Bingo. The folder unlocked. Inside, messages. Dozens of them. Written like unsent letters. Journal entries. Screenshots. Most were to him. Lucas, I hate that I miss you this much. You make me feel like I have a future again. Sometimes when he touches me, I feel like I'm cheating on you. I stared at the screen like I was reading the diary of a stranger. Because the woman who wrote these things wasn't the woman I thought I married. One message stopped me cold. The embryo transfer worked. I saw the second line this morning. I'm shaking. I wish you were here. The embryo transfer. Not, I'm pregnant. Not, we're having a baby. But the transfer worked. This wasn't spontaneous. This was engineered. I kept scrolling. My hands were shaking now. Screenshots of emails from the clinic. Appointments I didn't know she'd gone to. Billing records. Lab codes. An unregistered session with Hale 2 days before our last appointment. Then a picture. A blurry selfie. Her, in a clinic room. Belly slightly exposed. Caption, our beginning. Syringe red heart. My mouth went dry. The photo was time-stamped exactly 9 days before she told me she was pregnant. Which meant there had been a procedure. But not one I was part of. Not legally. Not biologically. The implications hit like a freight train. I wasn't just dealing with an affair. I was dealing with medical fraud. That night, she climbed into bed wearing my t-shirt. Curled into me like she used to when things were simpler. Safe. Do you ever just feel scared? She asked. I turned to her slowly. About what? All of it, she whispered. Being a mom. What if I mess it up? I studied her face. She looked fragile. Innocent, even. But now I knew that fragility was a mask. A tool. A distraction. You won't mess it up, I said, brushing her hair back. You've already done everything perfectly. She smiled, tears welling in her eyes. I just want to do right by him. I kissed her forehead. You will, I said. You already are. But in my head, a different voice whispered. You liar. You brilliant, manipulative liar. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I copied everything. Every note. Every message. Every screenshot. Loaded them onto a hidden USB drive. I labeled the folder, Truth. And then I did something that made my hands shake worse than anything else. I looked up a malpractice attorney. Because if what I suspected was true, if Dr. Hale knowingly performed a procedure without my consent, if he implanted his own genetic material, then this wasn't just betrayal. This was assault, violation, professional misconduct on a level that destroyed lives and careers. I had the beginnings of proof, but I needed more. So I requested access to my own medical records from the clinic. Claimed I was updating my insurance files. They sent me a PDF within an hour. Guess what wasn't in there? Any record of me providing viable samples on the dates surrounding Julia's last successful treatment. It was blank. A gap. A hole in the timeline. And in that silence, the truth screamed. I used to think he was saving our family. Turns out, he was stealing it. I remember the first time we met Dr. Lucas Hale. He walked into the room wearing tailored scrubs, a gold watch barely tucked beneath the sleeve, and that signature smile. Part confidence, part seduction. Julia lit up when she saw him. I've heard so much about you, she said, offering her hand. And Hale. He held it a beat too long. Back then, I thought he was just charismatic. That air some doctors have, like rules are optional, like consequences are for other people. Now I realized that smile wasn't about reassurance. It was about control. Power. Possession. I had the files, the screenshots, the calendar entries. I had the message Julia had written just days after the positive test. He says the embryo was perfect, better than any of the others. Not my embryo. Not our embryo. Just the embryo. I was losing track of how many lies had built the walls around me. Every time I pushed one down, another rose up. But it wasn't enough to suspect anymore. I needed proof. His voice. His words. His mistake. So I did what any rational, desperate man would do. I called his office. The receptionist answered. Dr. Hale's clinic. This is Dana. Hi, this is Mark Dalton. My wife's a patient of Dr. Hale's. Julia Dalton? Oh yes, of course. Congratulations again. There was that tone. That overly familiar warmth. Thanks, I said. Actually, I had a quick question about our file. But she cut me off. Oh, I think Dr. Hale left a voicemail for you two the other day, didn't he? I froze. I didn't get anything. That's strange. He definitely said he called. Do you mind resending it? Sure thing. 10 minutes later, I had the voicemail in my inbox. I listened with shaking hands. Hi, Julia. Just Julia. No, hi, Mark and Julia. No, you too. You looked beautiful yesterday. Glowing. I'm so proud of us. This is everything we hoped for. I'll be thinking about you tonight. My mouth went dry. The words played again in my head. Proud of us. Not proud of you. Us. That night, I sat across from Julia at the dinner table. She was glowing, all right. Radiant in that expectant mother way. And I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. Passed the salad. Made small talk. I asked about her next appointment. Oh, it's just a routine check, she said. No need for you to come. You sure? I'd love to be there. She shook her head. It's literally just weight and blood pressure. You'll be bored to death. Lie. She never wanted me in that building again. I leaned back, watching her. She reached for her water. Her hand trembled just slightly. She noticed me noticing and tucked it away under the table. I love you, I said out of nowhere. She looked surprised. I love you too. I nodded, pretending that was enough. But in my head, I was drawing battle lines. The next morning, I sent a formal request for clinic security footage. I knew they wouldn't give it to me, not without a subpoena, but I didn't need them to cooperate. I had a friend, Eric, who worked IT security for a government contractor. Guy owed me a favor from years back when I helped debug a software issue that nearly cost him his job. I sent him what I had, the clinic's server info, metadata from the PDF files, even timestamps from Julia's calendar. 2 days later, Eric sent back a compressed folder with 3 videos and 1 chilling message. Mark, you're not gonna like this. But yeah, it's him. The first video was harmless. Julia checking in, talking to Dana. The second was her walking through the hallway with Hale. But the third showed them in one of the private counseling rooms. No sound, just body language. He touched her back as she walked in, closed the door behind them. She sat down. He knelt in front of her, put his hand on her stomach. She laughed, shook her head, then covered his hand with hers. He leaned in and kissed her forehead. Then her belly. I hit pause, and that's when I felt it. Not heartbreak, not grief, something colder. A stillness. The kind of stillness you feel before a storm tears everything apart. I confronted her the next morning. Not fully, just a test. Hey, I said casually. Do you think we should switch clinics? I read some not-so-great things about Hale's practice online. She froze mid-bite. What kind of things? I don't know. Weird billing practices. Someone said he gets too personal with patients. She set her fork down. That's ridiculous. He's been nothing but professional. Even when he sends you flowers? I said it soft. Casual. Her eyes snapped to mine. What? I smiled. You didn't think I noticed? She tried to recover. It was just a kind gesture. I leaned in. You're glowing, he said. Proud of us. That's what he said in the voicemail, right? She blinked. I saw it then. The panic. Just for a second. You listened to my voicemails? She asked, tone turning sharp. No, I lied. He told me himself. She went pale. Gotcha. But she covered it quickly. I think you're reading into things. I've never given you a reason not to trust me. No, I said. You haven't. And I walked out of the kitchen, left her sitting there. Because the trap was already set. I didn't need her to admit anything. I just needed the results. The moment I opened that envelope, everything I believed about my marriage, about my life, collapsed. DNA test results don't come in a fancy box. They don't arrive with fireworks or screaming alarms. They come in a plain white envelope. Quiet. Sterile. Final. It was Tuesday morning when it showed up in our mailbox. I almost missed it, sandwiched between a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon and an energy bill. But I knew it was the one. Return address. Genetics Now Laboratory. My name. No mention of Julia's. No mention of the child. I took it inside, placed it on my desk, and stared at it for hours. I worked from home that day. Told Julia I had a project deadline. She kissed me on the forehead and left, humming. She was wearing the blue dress that used to be my favorite. I waited for the front door to click shut. Waited until I saw her taillights disappear from the Nest Cam. Then I picked up the envelope and opened it. The report was short. 3 pages. Page 1, sample confirmation. Page 2, chain of custody. Page 3, results. Paternity analysis, excluded. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the fetus with a probability of paternity of 0%. I read that line 5 times. Each time, it looked the same. Excluded. 0.00%. I leaned back in my chair. The world didn't spin. It didn't blur. It just stopped. We'd spent $42,000 on fertility treatments over 4 years. We'd sacrificed vacations, weekends, even our sex life for this dream. I'd held her while she sobbed into my chest after every failed embryo. I'd whispered, next time, until my throat went raw. And all along, she was planning this. A baby that wasn't mine. A pregnancy built on deception. And a goddamn doctor who thought he could play creator. My ears started ringing. That low hum of rage I hadn't felt since my father's funeral, when his business partner tried to steal everything we'd built. I felt the same fury now. But this time, I wasn't just mourning a man. I was mourning a life. One I thought was mine. I printed the results. Made 3 copies. 1 for my safe. 1 for my lawyer. 1 for what came next. Then I got to work. I started with the clinic. Requested all communications under my name. All records of my sperm samples, fertilization attempts, procedures. They sent me a tidy PDF. Only 2 entries had my name attached. Both over a year old. Both failed. No mention of me in anything recent. But Julia had 6 logged visits in the past 3 months. 6. All labeled under Private Consultation, L.H. Lucas Hale. I started documenting. Everything. I backed up her notes app. Screenshotted the text messages I'd seen when her phone buzzed a little too carelessly on the kitchen counter. Saved the calendar entry from 6 weeks ago that read, Dinner with L. Hyatt Rooftop, 7 p.m. clinking glasses syringe. I even saved the ultrasound picture. The one she posted on Instagram with the caption, After all these years, our miracle. Can't wait to meet you, little Dalton Yellowheart. I wasn't just betrayed. I was erased. But I wasn't going to disappear quietly. Not a chance. That evening, she came home glowing. Told me she'd bumped into her old college roommate. Asked if I wanted Italian or Thai this weekend. I smiled. Said Thai. Always Thai. She asked what I'd been up to. Cleaning, I said. Sorting files. Backing things up. She kissed my cheek. You're such a nerd. I looked her in the eyes. Held that gaze a moment longer than usual. Yeah, I said. I like having things organized. She didn't notice the way my hands shook when I took the plates out of the dishwasher. She didn't see me slip the DNA results back into the safe behind the bookshelf. She didn't ask why I suddenly wanted to attend every appointment moving forward. But she did hesitate when I said, I was thinking we should plan a big christening party. Invite all our friends. Family. Dr. Hale, too. She blinked. You want to invite Lucas? Of course, I said, sipping my water. He's been such a huge part of this. Her smile faltered. Just slightly. That's when I knew. She suspected I knew something. But she didn't know how much. Not yet. Let her guess. Let her sweat. Because I had a plan now. One built on precision, patience, and public humiliation. The DNA test didn't just confirm my worst fear. It lit a fire that burned through every lie she ever told me. I used to wonder what betrayal would feel like. I always thought it'd come with yelling. Smashing plates. Maybe a night on a friend's couch with whiskey and regret. But it wasn't like that. It was quiet. Cold. Clinical. A single line in a lab report that ended the life I thought I was living. The alleged father is excluded. Not a maybe. Not a question. A fact. This child, the one I'd painted a nursery for, the one I'd imagined holding, naming, loving, wasn't mine. Not my blood. Not my son. Not my miracle. The next morning, Julia made smoothies. Peach and banana. My favorite. She danced barefoot in the kitchen, singing along to some acoustic garbage, smiling like we were starring in a damn home renovation commercial. I sat at the table, staring at her belly. I imagined Dr. Hale's DNA swimming inside that kid. His eyes, his hands, his goddamn smirk. I swallowed the smoothie, forced a smile. So, I said, I was thinking we should write letters to the baby. Something he can read when he's older. She blinked. That's so sweet. I've been feeling really emotional about it, I said, voice trembling just enough. All the years we tried. Everything we went through. She came around the table and hugged me from behind. I let her touch me with the same hands she used to text him. She didn't notice I never hugged back. That night, I created a folder on my external drive. Labeled it Exhibit A. Inside I put the DNA results. Screenshots of her notes app. Voice recordings from her car. The security footage from the clinic. A timeline of appointments she lied about. Every detail. Every secret. Every goddamn whisper. It wasn't enough to know the truth. I needed to own it. I wasn't just documenting betrayal. I was building a case. And she had no idea. But the worst part? I still wanted to hold that child. That's what no one tells you. Even when the baby isn't yours. Even when your wife has fed you lies spoonful by spoonful, your heart doesn't know how to turn off. Your brain screams she betrayed you, but your chest still aches when you hear the heartbeat in the ultrasound. You don't unlove something just because it came from the wrong person. But that's why this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about justice. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to dismantle them. Both of them. I booked an appointment with a family lawyer. Told her I needed to discuss future custody options. She raised an eyebrow. Is there an issue with paternity? I slid the DNA results across the table. She read it. Paused. This opens a lot of doors, she said quietly. I nodded. I want to prepare for every one of them. Are you planning to stay married? I smiled. Not for long. She nodded. Then let's get ahead of it. We drafted letters. Set up a new account. Created a backup plan for every scenario. Financial, legal, emotional. She asked if I wanted full custody when the baby was born. I didn't answer right away. Because the truth is, I didn't know. I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. All I knew was this. They weren't going to get away with it. The next weekend, Julia's sister threw her a surprise baby shower. Julia wore white. Glowed. Made little speeches. Showed off the ultrasound photo. I stood beside her, playing the perfect husband. Smiling for the camera. Shaking hands. Talking about cribs and diapers and how blessed we felt. But in my jacket pocket was a flash drive. Labeled for Lucas. His copy of the truth. I never gave it to him. Not yet. I had a better plan. One that involved lights, champagne, and an audience. If they were going to build a fantasy on lies, I was going to document it, frame by frame. The next week, I started smiling more. Not the fake kind. Not the broken, defeated smile I'd been forcing for weeks. No, this one was different. This one was calculated. Quiet. Dangerous. Because the moment the DNA test confirmed the baby wasn't mine, I stopped asking questions and started collecting evidence. I bought a camera. Discreet. No wires. Motion activated. I installed it in the corner of our bedroom, tucked into the smoke detector. Another in the nursery, and one outside the front door, angled perfectly at the driveway. She didn't notice. She was too busy building her Pinterest-perfect pregnancy, too distracted by baby registries and posing for bump selfies, too in love with herself, with him, with the fantasy of being adored by both. While she posed for likes, I recorded the truth. The real gold came from the clinic. Eric, my hacker friend, sent me a fresh batch of security footage. He'd found access to a cloud backup the clinic's IT team didn't even realize was public-facing. And in one of those files, timestamped just a few weeks ago, was the smoking gun. Clinic room 2B. Lucas Hale. My wife. Alone. She was in the paper gown, legs crossed at the ankles, grinning like she'd just been proposed to. He entered the room, leaned down, and kissed her cheek. Then he knelt, put a hand on her stomach, and kissed it. I paused the video, stared at the frozen image on my screen. My wife. The doctor. My life. All crumbling into pixels and lies. I saved the video in 3 places. Then I smiled, because they thought this was a secret. But I was turning it into a show. I began creating a timeline. I used software I'd written years ago, something meant for tracking system anomalies across large databases. Now, it was tracking my wife's betrayal. Every call, every text, every appointment. I logged it all, matched it with footage, with receipts, with calendar entries. It was a damn masterpiece. A timeline of deception, all pointing to one conclusion. This wasn't an affair. This was a conspiracy. The next time Julia brought up the christening, I pounced. I was thinking we go big, I said, spooning pasta onto her plate. She raised an eyebrow. Big? Yeah. Celebration of life. Of everything we've survived. She smiled. God, I love you when you get sentimental. I took a sip of wine and lied straight through my teeth. We should invite Hale. She paused. Just a blink. A twitch. Then, Lucas. Sure. He's been such a huge part of this. She looked down at her food. I guess. That might be a little weird, don't you think? We owe him a lot, I said. You always said that. She nodded slowly. Okay. Yeah, if you want. I leaned over, kissed her hand. I want everything to be perfect, I said. She didn't know I meant perfectly staged. I created a fake event page. Bought a custom domain, Little Dalton Celebration. Com. Made it look like an innocent family site. Guest list. RSVP. Venue details. But embedded on the back end? A private media player. Password protected. Set to go live the night of the event. One video. 6 minutes long. The DNA results. Her notes. His voicemail. The footage of him kissing her belly. All set to music. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Slow. Haunting. I ordered a special gift box for Dr. Hale. Wrapped in silver paper. Inside. A USB drive. No note. Just a label. You're invited. Delivery scheduled to arrive at his office 3 days before the christening. Let him sweat. Let him wonder if I knew. Because by the time he realized what I'd done, the whole world would already be watching. He violated more than just his oath. He rewrote our family's DNA and called it love. You know what they say about doctors? First, do no harm. But Lucas Hale didn't believe in that part. Not when it came to women like Julia. Not when it came to power. He didn't just cross a line. He incinerated it. And smiled while doing it. So I decided to return the favor. The complaint form was easy to find. State Medical Board. Anonymous option. A few clicks, a PDF upload, and a space for additional documentation. I filled it out like I was writing an obituary. Dr. Lucas Hale has engaged in a personal relationship with a married patient under his fertility care. The result of that relationship is an ongoing pregnancy. The alleged father has been excluded by paternity test. Attached were the DNA results, the security footage, screenshots of Julia's dinner with L. Syringe Red Heart notes, a voice memo of his voicemail. I'm so proud of us. In the subject line, I typed, medical misconduct, patient, Julia Dalton physician, Lucas Hale. Then I hit send. And just like that, the clock started ticking. I didn't stop there. I printed the complaint and sent a hard copy, certified mail, to the clinic's executive board. Not just Lucas's boss. The people who funded him. The investors. The names no one sees in the pamphlets but sign the checks behind the scenes. On the envelope, I wrote, urgent, ethics violation. Let them choke on it. 3 days later, I got an email. Not from the board. Not from Lucas. From a woman named Melina. Dr. Hale's assistant. Subject, you're making a mistake. The body of the email was short. Mark, I saw the file you submitted. You have no idea what kind of fallout this will cause, not just for him. For you. Think carefully about your next move. M. I stared at the screen. Hands calm. Heart steady. Then I replied, Melina, I've already made my move. Let's see how your boss plays his. I didn't tell Julia about the complaint. Didn't tell her about the assistant's threat. Didn't tell her I was preparing a press packet in case the board tried to bury this. I just smiled, held her hand, rubbed her back during a Braxton Hicks scare, and whispered, everything's going to be okay. Because it was. For me. Not for them. That night, I double-checked the guest list for the christening. 63 RSVPs, Julia's co-workers, her yoga friends, the donors from her nonprofit, my parents, hers, even the couple from across the street who always borrowed our Snowblower. And Lucas? Confirmed. Through his secretary, I'd emailed a formal invitation to his clinic address. Asterisk Dr. Hale. We'd be honored to have you join us in celebrating the upcoming arrival of our son. Your support and guidance have meant the world. Sincerely, Mark and Julia Dalton. Asterisk. He RSVP'd, yes, within 4 hours. The arrogance was delicious. He thought I was still in the dark. He thought I was thanking him. He had no idea he was walking straight into the center of his own crucifixion. She thought we were rebuilding trust. I was building a stage. After I filed the complaint, something in me went cold. Not numb, not hollow, sharp, like glass edges hidden under velvet. Because now I had everything I needed. The proof, the plan, the players. All I had to do was smile long enough to set the trap. That weekend, I told Julia I wanted a fresh start. She looked up from her tea, confused. What do you mean? I forgive you, I said softly. I don't want to carry resentment into fatherhood. We've come too far. Her eyes welled up. She reached for my hand. I was so scared I'd ruined this, she whispered. I thought maybe I'd lost you. You did. You lost me the moment you let another man plant himself inside my family. But I nodded. You haven't lost me, I lied. Let's focus on the future. She smiled through tears, said she wanted to make things right. Said we should do weekly check-ins. Couples journaling. Long walks at dusk. All the cliches. I agreed to every single one. Because the more effort she poured into pretending, the sweeter her humiliation would taste. I bought baby clothes. Tiny onesies. Little socks. Even a pair of shoes he wouldn't wear for months. I laid them out on the bed one morning before she woke up. When she came out of the bathroom, she gasped. You did all this? I wanted us to have a moment, I said. She wrapped her arms around me, kissed me like I was the air she needed to breathe. I don't deserve you, she whispered. No, you don't. But you're going to deserve what's coming. We started taking photos again. Those fake, perfectly lit Instagram moments. Julia posted a carousel one night. Me holding her belly. Her laughing into my shoulder. The baby's name spelled out in Scrabble tiles. Caption. After the storm, there's always light. Yellow heart, we're stronger than ever. Hashtag Dalton baby. Hashtag miracle boy. The post got 318 likes. I screenshot every single one. 2 weeks before the christening, I met with a friend of mine, David. He runs a video production company. Clean, corporate work. Product launches. Weddings. That sort of thing. Ever done an event reveal? I asked. He raised an eyebrow. Like, gender reveal? I smiled. Something a little more dramatic. I handed him a hard drive. Inside, the DNA test. The voicemail from Dr. Hale. Footage from the clinic. Julia's messages and calendar entries. A photo of the roses. All compiled into a clean, 6-minute video. I told him I wanted it to play at the christening. Subtly. Projector screen. Last slide of the thank you reel. He looked at me for a long time. Jesus, he muttered. You're really going to do this? She took everything from me. I said calmly. I just want to return the favor. He nodded. You want music? Classical, I said. Something soft, but eerie. I started writing my speech. Just a few lines. Casual. Warm. The kind of thing a new father says to thank his village. Except this village was about to witness arson. I practiced in the mirror. This next part is personal. It's about truth. And about what family really means. I imagined the way her champagne glass would tremble in her hand. The flicker in her eyes when she realized what was happening. I imagined the guests turning. Phones coming out. Whispers. And Lucas, Dr. Hale, sitting there, jaw tight, watching the walls he built crumble in real time. I'd practiced staying calm. Because revenge doesn't shout. It whispers. The day before the christening, Julia caught me in the kitchen, lost in thought. You okay? She asked, brushing flour off her hands. Just nervous, I said. Big day. She smiled and kissed my cheek. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Like a storm rolling in beneath a blue sky. She thought it was the happiest day of her life. I made sure it was the most unforgettable. The morning of the christening, Julia was glowing. Not the kind of glow you get from love. The kind you get from victory. Her hair curled into soft waves. Makeup flawless. That natural but perfect look she'd mastered. She wore ivory, not white. To avoid upstaging the baby, she said with a laugh. She fluttered around the house like a woman in a dream, checking the floral arrangements, repositioning candles, adjusting the handmade party favors that spelled the baby's name in cursive gold foil. There were custom cocktail napkins with his initials, little jars of honey with sweetest boy in the world printed on them. Even a string quartet warming up near the lakefront where the ceremony would take place. It was a Pinterest-perfect party, and I let her build it. Because you don't stop someone while they're digging their own grave. You just make sure the ground is soft enough to bury them deep. I wore navy, crisp suit, pocket square, polished shoes. The doting husband, the soon-to-be father, the man every guest said was glowing with pride. Julia kept beaming at me, thinking we were finally whole again. She had no idea I was carrying a flash drive in my inner coat pocket with the truth. 6 minutes. One video. That's all it would take. People began arriving around 3 p.m. Aunts, friends, donors from her nonprofit, her boss, her Pilates instructor, the woman from the grocery store who always gave her extra coupons. And then him, Dr. Lucas Hale. He showed up in a gray sport coat and sunglasses. Charismatic as ever. The kind of man who knows everyone's name and uses it twice. "Mark," he said, shaking my hand like we were old friends. "What a beautiful event." "Thanks for coming," I said, locking eyes with him. "You've been such a big part of all this." He blinked, just a flicker, then smiled. Julia came over, touched his arm, said something about seating arrangements. I watched her blush. Right in front of me. I nearly laughed. They thought they were in control. At 5:10 p.m., dinner was served. Lamb, grilled asparagus, miniature soufflés in individual ramekins. Wine flowed. Speeches were made. Julia stood up and thanked everyone who helped bring our son into the world. I stood up next, held my glass, tapped it gently. "Can I say a few words?" I asked. The room hushed. Julia smiled at me, trusting, warm, wide-eyed. God, she really believed I still loved her. I cleared my throat. "First," I said, "I just want to thank you all for being here. This hasn't been an easy journey." Soft laughter, nods, knowing glances. "But we made it," I continued. "And today isn't just about our son. It's about truth, about resilience, about the people we choose to trust with our lives." Julia's smile faltered, just slightly. "But before we toast," I said, "I'd like to share something personal." I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the remote, clicked. The projector screen behind the dessert table lit up. At first, it was just a sonogram photo. Then, after all these years, our miracle. "Can't wait to meet you, little Dalton Yellowheart." Julia relaxed, thought it was a montage. Then the next slide hit. DNA results. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Gasps. Chairs creaked. Julia turned to me, her face drained of color. "Mark, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. The next slide. Security footage of her and Dr. Hale at the clinic. His hand on her belly. The kiss. Then his voicemail played over the speakers. "You looked beautiful yesterday. I'm so proud of us." The room froze. All 60 guests. Silent. Staring. Julia dropped her champagne flute. It shattered at her feet. Dr. Hale stood slowly, face hardening. I stepped forward. "To our miracle," I said, raising my glass. "Just not mine." "This next slide is personal," I said, raising my glass. And with that, I burned everything they built. For a few seconds, no one moved. The only sound was the soft hum of the projector and the faint clinking of champagne dripping from shattered glass. Julia stood frozen in place, her face caught in a strange limbo between horror and denial. Dr. Hale, Lucas, didn't even look at her. His eyes were locked on me, like a wolf sizing up the man who just set the forest on fire. And I smiled. "Some of you may be wondering what you just saw," I said calmly. "Let me clarify." I clicked the remote. Slide. "Fertility specialist, ethics complaint filed 2 weeks ago." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave of electricity. Another click. Slide. "Patient, Julia Dalton. Dr. Lucas Hale. Result, pregnancy via unauthorized procedure." Whispers. Someone near the back actually said, "Oh my God." Julia finally snapped out of her trance. "Mark," she said, voice shaking, "please don't do this." "Do what?" I asked, still holding my glass. "Tell the truth." She took a step toward me. Can we talk in private?" "No," I said. "That's the problem. Everything about this has been private. Secret. Carefully hidden. But this," I pointed at the screen. "This is what happens when you play God and forget that other people bleed too." Lucas stepped forward. "This is a deeply personal matter. It should have been handled in confidence." I turned toward him. You mean like how you handle my wife? The room gasped again. I heard someone stifle a laugh. Another guest quietly walked out, whispering to her husband. Julia's boss stood off to the side, mouth open, expression unreadable. I trusted you, I said to Julia. We fought for this. Together. You told me this child was our miracle. You let me believe it while you wrote love letters to the man who implanted himself in your life, and your body. Mark, she said, now crying. I didn't mean for. You meant every single thing. I said, voice sharp now. I have your calendar, your notes, the voicemail, the video of him kissing your belly, weeks before you told me you were pregnant. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face. But I felt nothing, just a stillness, a clean, cold sense of closure. Lucas finally spoke again. You're making a very dangerous accusation. I cut him off. It's not an accusation when I have the lab results. It's not dangerous when it's documented. Click. Final slide. 0% paternity. Complaint filed. Board investigation pending. Then the screen went black, and the room erupted. Guests murmured, half of them already texting or quietly slipping out. Someone was filming. I didn't care. Let it spread. Let the truth find light in every corner they thought it could hide. Julia collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Lucas turned to leave. I wouldn't, I said. He stopped. There are cameras outside, I added. Smile on your way out. You're going to need the PR practice. He didn't say a word, just walked out. Julia, still crying, looked up at me. Mark, please. I knelt beside her, pulled out the manila envelope I'd kept under the table, dropped it in her lap. Inside, the divorce papers. Signed, dated, filed. She didn't even open it, just whispered, why would you do this here? I looked her in the eyes. Because you wanted a perfect memory, I said. And I wanted witnesses. They thought the worst was over when I stopped talking. They didn't realize I was just getting started. The morning after the christening, Julia's Pinterest perfect dream was in pieces. My inbox was flooded. Voicemails, missed calls, friends, family, strangers. Some were stunned. Some were furious. Some just wanted the video. It had gone viral overnight. Someone had recorded the reveal on their phone and uploaded it to a local gossip group. From there, it spread like wildfire. A fertility doctor caught in a scandal. A mother-to-be exposed. A husband's speech that left a room breathless. One blog called it the most brutal baby shower in American history. Another, this husband deserves a standing ovation and a Netflix deal. I just sat at my kitchen table, coffee in one hand, divorce confirmation in the other, watching the world burn. Julia showed up the next day. She didn't knock, just used her key, like nothing had changed. She looked different. No makeup, hoodie, hair pulled back, like someone trying to hide inside themselves. I didn't even look up from my coffee. You shouldn't be here, I said. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to talk. Everything I had to say was in the slideshow. She flinched like I'd hit her. I didn't know how to stop it, she whispered. I didn't mean for it to go that far. You planned it. I snapped, finally looking at her. You wrote the dates, scheduled the appointments, lied to my face for months. Tears welled in her eyes. He said it would work, that it was safe. He also said he was proud of us. I said coldly. You didn't correct him. Silence. She stepped forward. Do you really want to destroy my life? I stood, walked to the drawer, pulled out the second envelope. I'm not destroying it, I said, placing the papers in her hand. I'm giving you a head start. What is this? Custody agreement. Financial disclosures. NDA offer. I leaned in. You sign it, and I don't send everything to the press. Her hands shook. You'd really do that? You already did. Lucas Hale's world collapsed faster. The morning after the video leaked, the clinic released a statement. We are aware of the allegations and have placed Dr. Hale on immediate administrative leave pending investigation. By the afternoon, local news picked it up. By evening, his medical license was under review. Julia's name trended for all the wrong reasons. A perfect mother-to-be caught in an ethical scandal. The nonprofit she worked for posted a vague message about reviewing internal matters. By the end of the week, she was on indefinite leave. Her face, the same one she used to carefully pose in every Instagram story, was now plastered under headlines like, Doctor's affair leads to fertility nightmare. Baby daddy, scandal shakes D.C. suburb. And my personal favorite, This dad found out the baby wasn't his, and the way he exposed it was savage. Julia called again the next day. I let it ring. Then she texted, "Please, just say it was a misunderstanding. Please, you don't have to do this." So I uploaded the video again, this time with subtitles. Then I posted it to a parenting forum under a burner account titled, "Trust But Verify Dad." By morning, the comments were pouring in. Thousands of people, mothers, fathers, strangers, siding with me. She wanted sympathy. What she got was exposure. I left the house 3 days later. Didn't take much. A few bags. My backup drives. The truth. I'd already filed the paperwork to transfer the deed out of her name. She didn't fight it. Couldn't afford to. The world she built on lies was crumbling too fast to save. I stood at the door before leaving. She watched me, eyes bloodshot. "This isn't over," she said. "You're right," I replied, stepping out. "It's just begun. Some betrayals shatter a marriage. Others strip a man of everything. And still, he smiles when the fallout begins." Dr. Lucas Hale's medical license was suspended 4 days after the party. Not revoked. Not yet. But under emergency review pending further investigation was good enough for me. I read the press release on my phone while sipping coffee at a cheap motel just outside the city. No press conference. No denial. Just silence. That told me everything. I scrolled down to the final line. The board has received credible allegations of ethical misconduct, including a personal relationship with a current patient and potential breach of medical consent laws. Bingo. That was my favorite part. Potential breach of consent laws. He didn't just cheat with my wife. He used his position to do it. He weaponized the white coat. He turned fatherhood into a science experiment with himself as the donor. And now, he was suspended, disgraced, and under investigation. That wasn't revenge. That was justice. Julia, on the other hand, was drowning. I heard through mutual friends that she'd tried to go back to work. The board of her nonprofit had called an emergency meeting. 3 of her donors pulled out. 2 more issued statements condemning any association with current events. By the end of the week, she was officially no longer affiliated with the organization. But what really broke her wasn't the job, wasn't the news. It was the court notice I had delivered to her door. I wasn't just filing for divorce. I was filing a restraining order, an motion to block her from listing me as the father on the birth certificate. Because legally, once that name goes on paper, there's a trail, a responsibility, a liability, and I wasn't going to raise a child who wasn't mine. Not anymore. She texted that night. Just one line. "You're killing me." I didn't respond. Because I didn't want her dead. I wanted her remembering. The next day, I opened a new email account. Burner. Created a Google Drive. Uploaded everything. All the files, the footage, the court documents, the audio recordings. And I sent one link. To her mother. Subject. "Your daughter's story, start to finish." She'd always treated me like a son. Maybe now she'd understand what her real daughter was capable of. Let the shame multiply. Let the truth rot from the inside out. But the cherry on top? That came the following Monday. Someone from Hale's own family emailed me. His wife. Yes, he was married. That was the final twist. She'd found the video, found the articles, and now she was filing for divorce. She wanted copies of the footage, the DNA results, anything I had that could help her case. I sent everything. Didn't ask for thanks. But she sent a message anyway. I knew he was arrogant. I didn't know he was this. "Thank you for helping me burn him down." That night, I slept better than I had in months. Not because it was over, but because they were finally paying the price. Every headline, every ruined reputation, every door that closed on them was a door I opened. I didn't just walk away from her. I erased the version of me who ever loved her. The house was quiet when I returned to grab the last of my things. The nursery door was closed. The roses were dead. Julia sat at the kitchen table like a ghost in her own life. Hair unbrushed, eyes swollen, still in the same hoodie from 3 days ago. I didn't say anything when I walked past her. Just went to the office, grabbed my files, my backup drives, the framed photo of my late father. When I came back through the kitchen, she finally spoke. "Don't leave like this." I didn't stop moving. "Mark, please." I turned, just long enough to meet her eyes. She looked destroyed, but I wasn't moved. I'd done my mourning already, weeks ago, in silence, while she smiled and kissed my cheek with another man's child growing inside her. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. "But you did. It was a mistake. No, I said. It was a choice. She stood now. We can fix this. We? I laughed. There's no we left. You buried that next to our last real embryo. She crumpled back into the chair. I thought if I gave you a baby, even if it wasn't. She stopped herself. Even now, she couldn't say it. It's not about the baby, I said. It's about the fact that I loved you through everything, and you let me. You let me believe it was mine. You smiled while I planned our future. She looked down, said nothing. You don't get forgiveness for that, I added. You get consequences. I left the house with only what I came with. The savings account was mine. The business was mine. The name? Also mine. All she had left was the scandal. I moved into a small loft downtown. Minimalist. Quiet. No baby blue paint on the walls. No ultrasound prints on the fridge. Just clean air and a new mattress. A few days later, I got a message from one of her friends. Apparently, Julia had started posting vague apologies on her private Instagram. Stuff like, I made mistakes, but I'm not a monster. People should be allowed to heal in private. Then the comments started. Dozens of strangers from parenting forums. People who'd seen the video. People who felt the betrayal, even from across a screen. They didn't let her rewrite the story. Not this time. I watched quietly as the public turned on her. She tried to play the victim, but the internet remembers. Every lie, every slide of that presentation, every pause in that room as her secret was laid bare. She called me one last time. Left a voicemail. Her voice was shaky. Low. You win. Is that what you wanted? Everyone hates me. I lost everything. Are you happy now? I didn't respond, but I opened the burner account again. Found the original video. Added a new slide at the end. He never needed to raise a child. He raised the truth. Then I posted it on a national Reddit thread. r/pro-revenge. Title: My wife's pregnancy announcement was a lie. So I turned her christening into a public execution. It hit the front page in 4 hours. Someone sent it to a podcast, then a blog, then a YouTube channel. Then it went everywhere. I turned off my phone, poured a drink, and watched it all unfold. Goodbye, Julia. You wanted to be admired, worshipped, praised. Now you're remembered. Just not for the reasons you dreamed of. I may not have a child, but I got my justice. And the world watched every second of it. I never wanted to be famous. But when the video hit its 10th million view, I realized something. People don't care about fairy tales. They care about the truth. And how ugly it can be. Strangers DM me from around the world. Men who'd raised kids that weren't theirs. Women who found out their partners had been double living for years. Even doctors, anonymous, of course, who said what I exposed was just the tip of the iceberg. Some begged for interviews. Others just wrote, "Thank you. You made me feel sane again." A week after the Reddit post went viral, a reporter knocked on my new apartment door. Young guy, nervous, held a recorder like it might explode. "I know you probably won't want to talk," he said, "but the story's everywhere now. We just want your side before we publish." I almost laughed. My side. That slideshow was my side. So I handed him a flash drive. All the files. All the emails. The signed documents. The footage. Everything's on there. I said. No comment. He nodded. The article came out 3 days later. Headline: The Father Who Wasn't, and the Doctor Who Played God. Julia went completely dark. No more Instagram stories. No posts. Her Pinterest was deleted. But she couldn't hide forever. Someone leaked screenshots from a private group chat she was in, trying to spin the narrative, claim I had emotionally manipulated her into staying during the pregnancy. The comments obliterated her. Even her former friends turned their backs. She was a cautionary tale now. Not a wife. Not a mother. Not a victim. A warning. Lucas Hale? His license was officially suspended. The investigation escalated to federal level after 2 more women came forward. One claimed he'd blurred ethical lines during treatment. Another? Her child didn't look anything like her husband. They were requesting DNA tests now too. Turns out my case wasn't an outlier. It was the beginning. His marriage? Over. His wife posted a brutal letter on Twitter. He wore the white coat like armor. But underneath it, he was just another predator who thought he'd never get caught. The tweet went viral. Again, I didn't respond. But I did like it. The last message I ever sent to Julia was short. Tell your son the truth when he's old enough. Don't let him grow up thinking lies are normal. He already has one parent who doesn't care about the truth. Don't let it be both. She never replied. But I hope she read it. Because that child, Hale's child, is going to grow up in the shadow of a truth I refuse to bury. Not because I hate him, but because he deserves better than what made him. Sometimes, people ask if I regret it. The party, the video, the divorce. No, because betrayal doesn't deserve a whisper. It deserves a microphone. And mine echoed. Across offices, marriages, courtrooms, newsrooms. They thought they'd broken me. But I didn't just survive. I documented. I exposed. I ended them. I may not have a son, but I became something else. Proof that sometimes revenge isn't fire. It's ice, and it lasts longer